Okay, I'd like to call the July board meeting of the Lost Pines Groundwater Conservation District to order. It's 3:30 on the dot. Okay, call to order, establish a quorum. We have 8 directors with us, all are present. Welcome to everybody that's here. Now, if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiances. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag, pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
You. The next item on the agenda are public comments. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. No action will be taken on the items. I have one, you can comment on agenda items or non-agenda items. I've just got one public slip, Mr. Joe Burgess.
President Dextor, members of the board, my name is Joe Burgess, proudly living on Lee County Road 410. I want to commend the district for continuing to support the development of aquifer science and for standing behind the results of those studies. Due to bold stands taken by certain cities and communities in Texas, I believe that the state will be encouraged to develop some meaningful water and power legislation in the coming session. Even the governor appears to be somewhat swayed. However, due to the enormous amount of money that is involved with data centers and other heavy water using industries, especially for smaller communities that have no other source of income, enforcement of this legislation, in my mind, will always be questionable. And the larger communities with more money and a lot more votes, like LCRA Austin and College Station, will continue to push their political clout with no regard for the Lost Pines aquifers. It will always be an uphill battle for this district to achieve the balance between our local industry needs and individual well owners on the one hand, and the exploding industrial growth in surrounding areas. But you as a district have shown that you are not afraid to stand up for the real life needs of our 2 counties. I urge you to continue to develop the science that strengthens your position and to continue backing the enforcement of meaningful programs that take into consideration long-term future requirements for Lee and Bastrop counties. I will continue to stress enforcement with built-in teeth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Is there anyone online that would like to make a public comment? Hearing none, we'll go on to agenda item 3, the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion or action on these items unless requested by a board director. Consent agenda items are minutes of the May 20th, 2026 regular board meeting. B, the financial report through June 30th, 2026, and C, invoices received and payments greater than $15,000. Does any director want to pull an item from the consent agenda? Hearing none, could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
A second?
A second.
Okay. Melissa made the motion. Patty seconded it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstentions. Okay, the motion passes. Okay, item 4A, any announcements? I do not have any.
I got
Elvis.
an announcement. I just wanted to announce and congratulate Claire Marks for our 2-year anniversary with us last June. 2 years. So congratulations, and I'm approaching my 1 year. Just in the next few days, it's going to be a year, which is incredible.
Well,
It's
thank you.
flown.
Thank you, yes.
So those are my announcements.
Okay, does anybody on the board have anything they want to announce? Okay, great. Is someone from the water board?
Yep.
Oh, are they here? Okay, the next item 4B, presentation by the Texas Water Development Board regarding new proposed brackish groundwater zones. And for the directors, there should be a copy of this in your agenda package.
So Christy, I saw that you were online.
Okay, I can see my slides now.
Yes. Hello, Christy. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Just to set the stage, basically, I saw this presentation about a month or so ago. Christy gave this presentation to the public about a month or 5 weeks or so ago, roughly, Christy. And so this was regarding brackish groundwater, and this is relevant to us. There's several new proposed zones that include Vasco County. And so with that, I will hand the floor off to Christy with the Water Development Board.
Great, thank you. I'm not sure if you're looking at my screen or you're doing the slides.
I'll do them.
Okay, all right. I'll just get started then. I suppose I don't need to share my screen then, correct?
Correct.
All
Correct.
right, that makes it easy.
Yeah.
Okay, now let me find what you're looking at. Okay, so today I will walk through a BRACS overview of what BRACS does, why we designate BGPZs, our zone criteria, completed studies, and zone status maps. And then I will walk through the Southern Trinity zone analysis and give an overview, freshwater buffer basics, production volume basics, and then we'll look at salinity maps with faults, buffers, and exclusions. After that, we can briefly look at permitting roles, next steps, and then any questions you might have for me. Next slide. So what is brackish groundwater? Brackish groundwater has a total dissolved solids concentration greater than 999 and less than 10,000 milligrams per liter. It is more saline than fresh water and less saline than seawater. Next slide, please. BRAC stands for Brackish Resources Aquifer Characterization System. So we just go by BRACS. The BRACS team maps and characterizes the brackish aquifers of the state in detail using existing geophysical well logs and available aquifer data. And I say in detail because our goal is to get one geophysical log per 2.5 minute grid, which is a very high standard and we can't quite hit it, but we do strive for that data density. The steps in the characterization system include the data mining, interpretation of stratigraphy and lithology, a water well aquifer determination, the mapping of salinity zones, calculating in-place storage volumes, and then after that's all done, we go back and evaluate the aquifers for zones or brackish groundwater production zones. So Texas Water Code Section 16.060 is House Bill 30 codified. Essentially, the board shall undertake research and studies considered necessary to further the development of cost-effective water supplies from seawater or brackish groundwater desalination. These shall include identification and designation of local or regional brackish groundwater production zones in areas of the state with moderate to high availability and productivity of brackish groundwater that can be used to reduce the use of fresh groundwater. It will include determination of the amount of brackish groundwater that the zone can produce over a 30-year period and a 50-year period without causing a significant impact to water availability or water quality. And it will include recommendations regarding reasonable monitoring to observe the effects of brackish groundwater production within the zone. The zone criteria is that zones must be separated by hydrogeologic barriers sufficient to prevent significant impacts to existing fresh groundwater users. Zones must protect select groundwater well uses, specifically domestic, agricultural, and public supply, and agricultural includes irrigation and livestock. They cannot be located in existing brackish groundwater use areas, injection or waste disposal well impact areas, excluded districts, or in areas with fresh groundwater less than 1,000 milligrams per liter total dissolved solids concentration. So our legislative deadline for designating all the zones is December 1st, 2032. The status map you see on the left shows completed studies and the zones that have been designated to date, which are in yellow. The Blaine, the Lipan, and the Gulf Coast, Lower Rio Grande Valley were evaluated but did not have any zones designated. The status map on the right shows the studies that have been completed since 2020 and still need zones designated. The Pecos Valley Alluvium Aquifer was the first brackish study published in 2012. It predates House Bill 30, and so it also needs a zone analysis. So the BRACS team will be evaluating the Pecos Valley Alluvium, the Woodbine, the East Sparta this year, and currently the Central Texas stack-up aquifers, which is shown in the kind of cantaloupe color on that map, is being solicited for proposals this month. Once these analyses are completed and designated, we will be caught up with our zone designations for completed studies. And I'll talk about how we got behind on that in a couple of slides, but we can move on to the next one. And this is just a little bit about that Central Texas stack of the Upper Coastal Plains aquifers. So here's the steady area boundary is the green and white hatched line. And this will evaluate the Yegua, the Sparta, the Queen City, and the Carrizo-Wilcox aquifers for zones. That contract study will likely be completed in 2 years, give or take, by the time we get it, select a contractor, execute the contract, and complete it. But I just wanted to give you a heads up that the analyses could potentially designate zones within your district for some of these aquifers. So that will be coming soon. Okay, so why we got behind on our studies is the injection zone buffer issue. The contract studies that evolved from House Bill 30 in 2015. For those, a 15-mile radius buffer was initially used for all the injection wells. So in the year 2020, the agency contracted an injection well buffer tool, which we received in 2022, but was not technically sustainable. And so we upgraded it internally 2 years ago. So the upgraded injection well tool models the injectate plumes using the same original analytical solutions as the contracted tool. And there's two different solutions. One is if you know the hydraulic gradient, and two, I'm sorry, if you don't know the hydraulic gradient, and then tier 2 uses the gradient to injectate them, to model the injectate plume. And the ability to model injectate transport after injection is stopped is critical because class 2 injection wells are typically active for a limited time. So note that the diameter of these 50-year plumes are less than 1/2 mile. This is in the Woodbine, by the way, but those are definitely nowhere near 15 miles. This tool is only available for internal use. However, for like the contract that is soliciting right now, we will run the tool and provide those injectate plume polygons to the contractor for their analysis. Next slide, please. So moving on to the South Trinity zone analyses. The southern portion of the Trinity Aquifer is divided from the northern portion along the Colorado River. The southern portion of the Trinity Aquifer BRAC study covers approximately 15,000 square miles and includes all or part of 24 counties in central Texas. Additional area down dip of the aquifer footprint was included in the study area to map the deeper down dip portions of the Trinity Group formations. Two structural features in this study area are the Balcones and the Luling fault zones. But for this zone analysis, incorporating the local or regional flow properties of individual faults is beyond the scope of our analysis. Next slide, please.
Can I ask what a reverse fault is?
It is one where the normal fault would go like this, and a reverse fault would be the hanging block moves upward compared to the foot wall. So we go this way. So one is tension and one is, stress or pressure.
So is one up and one's down or something like that? Is
They
it
go
direct?
different ways.
They go
Like
different ways?
extending is normal faulting where they kind of tend to drop down. And that would be on the southeast side, but reverse faults, the hanging wall actually gets pushed up. So if you look at it in cross section, the formations would be higher on the hanging wall than they are on the foot wall, whereas a normal fault, it's the other way around. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good question. So there are 4 proposed production areas, 2 in the upper Trinity, 1 in the middle Trinity, and 1 in the lower Trinity. So regarding the 4 proposed production areas, the upper hydrogeologic barrier at the Edwards Trinity contact in the updip portion of the study area. Groundwater can flow between the Edwards and the upper Trinity aquifer. but no data exists about this connectivity in the down dip portions of the aquifers. However, looking at geophysical well logs shows that the Walnut Formation or equivalent shale that is at the base of the Edwards Group is 20 to 40 feet thick and may represent a significant aquitard for the top of the Trinity Aquifer. The lower hydrogeologic barrier is the base of the Cretaceous, and the basal Trinity was deposited on older, less transmissive Paleozoic rocks throughout much of the study area. So we assume that a barrier exists at this contact. Next slide, please. Sorry, I don't have my laser light on this, but if you look at the Balcones fault zone and the Luling fault zone, in some of these Trinity formations, you can see that it differentiates like slightly from moderately saline across the Luling fault zone. Not in every formation, but you can see that it tracks in a few of the formations. And that also applies to the freshwater and the slightly saline yellow in the Balcones fault zone, and it doesn't apply to all of the formations throughout the study area, but you can see that pattern, I think, is somewhat evident. The lower Glen Rose, Hensel, and Cow Creek are within the middle Trinity, and the Sligo and Austin are your lower Trinity formations. Next slide, please. So freshwater buffers, there were 3 freshwater buffer distances calculated. The upper, middle, and lower Trinity buffers vary from 5.5 to 6.5 miles. These buffers were applied to existing fresh and brackish groundwater wells for domestic, ag, and public supply use only. And these buffers were also applied to the excluded administrative areas like the Edwards Aquifer Authority and the Barton Springs Edwards Aquifer Conservation District, as well as the northern portion of the Trinity Aquifer. That study was completed in, I think, 2019. So production volumes, we used a 20-foot drawdown to limit production to a 1 to 4% drop in hydraulic head to prevent significant impact to existing excluded use wells closest to the proposed brackish groundwater production zones. The conservative estimate assumes that brackish production will be located near the up-dip edge of the proposed zone, and that no known physical hydrogeological isolation exists between fresh groundwater users and brackish groundwater production zones. And in the report tables for the open file report that's available on our webpage, on the BGPZ page, the production volumes were tabulated by zone and then split by county and river basin, like you see in the GAM runs and the regional water planning documents. So we're trying to get those numbers incorporated in the next regional planning cycle.
Christy, I had a question, and this may be ignorance on my part, but when you talk about withdrawing brackish water, are you assuming that as you pull brackish water out, it's having an effect on how the fresh water drops?
Well, that's why we have the buffers
Okay.
to
So,
separate that far enough that it shouldn't impact them with the drawdown that we modeled it for.
okay. So removal of brackish water, if you're not careful, can have an impact on the freshwater part of the aquifer, correct?
If it's located down dip. And in this simplified model, of a brackish aquifer, and they're not all like this, but in the simplified model where you have increasing salinity with depth and distance from the outcrop, yes.
Okay.
But
They're chartered so that there is no interaction between the fresh and the brackish. And that's why they have that big buffer zone.
Okay.
did that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm just thinking that, the reason I'm asking this is there's been discussion about the data center in Cedar Creek putting down a 14,000-foot test well.
4,000.
4,000-foot test well, excuse me, to look for brackish water. Are they far enough away from the aquifers so that if they decide to use that water, they're not going to cause any damage? Okay.
Well, that's what we're putting forth at these conservative numbers for. However, since we have so many data gaps in the brackish portion of the aquifer, I mean, we have very few water levels, no pump tests. Although I know they're going to do some aquifer tests, very few water samples that will really help fill in some missing pieces that we don't have to make those calculations. How much can be pumped?
Our information in our data, in our well database, shows that the Carrizo-Wilcox aquifer ends about 2.5 miles east of that Cedar
Okay.
Creek, of that location in Cedar Creek.
And what are the distances in the buffers that conservatively the Texas Water Development is what? You said 5 to 6 miles?
5.5 to 6.5. I believe the 6.5 is for the Middle Trinity.
Okay. So if they're 2 miles away, that's not enough by these standards. Am I missing
I'm
something?
not sure, I don't know the details.
This is specific to the Trinity.
Okay.
Does it make a difference in your calculations in how the water flows itself? It's not a nice straight line. It flows with the, with the ground, with the underlying.
We do pretty simplified. We're not modelers. We're not groundwater modelers, but we made simplified calculations to come up with this.
So,
And we don't have like flow bound, like I was saying, the faults, we don't have those modeled as flow boundaries or flow paths or anything like that.
so
We're assuming that there is no that down dip pumping is going to affect freshwater pumping.
So you don't really know, at least for the data center that Patty asked about, whether the 2.5 miles is a sufficient buffer yet, because you don't have the data, correct?
You're talking about the Carrizo-Wilcox, right?
Yeah.
We did not do an analysis of this and consider the Carrizo-Wilcox, so that's not really, I guess, in the scope of how we do a zone analysis. I haven't evaluated anything for the data center.
Okay. So there's not enough data yet.
Yeah, and that's a problem that we face because most all of the data is up dip in the freshwater portion, right? Because that's where everybody's drilling and pumping from and doing aquifer tests from. So I'm really excited that Data Connects is going to do some aquifer tests in the brackish portion of an aquifer.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just wanted to present this slide because wellfield location 1 is near the up dip edge of the BGPC in the schematic, and we assume that if you drill on the up-dip edge of the zone, you will have lower TDS, shallower wells. However, the trade-off is you'll have greater potential impact on existing freshwater users that are up-dip. But at wellfield location 2, which could be down on the, would be nearer the down dip edge of the zone, you would assume you would have a higher TDS, you'll have deeper wells, but there would be a less potential impact to freshwater users that are located closest to the zone. And what I was saying about data gaps is that when local exploratory efforts begin filling in the missing puzzle pieces within these zones with water quality samples and water levels and aquifer test, these new data may warrant the submittal of zone amendments. Now, these are not designated zones yet, but for some that already exist, zone amendments to update the properties and production variability within the zones. And that's what the amendments are for, because we recognize we have these gaps and people can go do pump tests or whatever and submit that and say, hey, but look here, So, next slide. Okay, so this table is a summary from the draft open file report showing the annual, the 30-year, and the 50-year total production for all of these zones.
So as you can tell, these numbers right now are quite small because it's for the entire zone. In the next slides, you'll see the map of the zone of these zones. That'll come up in the next slide. But these numbers are on the very conservative side.
Yes. Okay, so this map shows the proposed Upper Trinity zones, the water quality control points, the salinity mapping, and the faults. The injection tool calculated buffer distances less than 4.5 miles for all of the 54 class 2 injection wells located within the study area. And those are all smaller than the freshwater buffers that we calculated for the freshwater buffer. Only one class 2 injection well is located near a proposed zone, and that's the purple dot up there. And so we cut a notch out of the zone boundary to remove that plume polygon from the zone.
So that injection well is roughly about where FM 535 and like Highway 21 is where this injection well is. It's several miles south of the data center.
And that's an
Next.
injection.
It's an existing injection well, correct?
What are they injecting? Fresh water or
Salt water.
salt water?
If we go to the next slide, I can tell you about it. Here we go. So here's a site map for the injection well that was excluded from the zone. There's also a Google Earth image of where I think it's located, and Elm Drive is the common reference point between those two images. The well has been injecting produced water into the Edwards since 1999. This well is a concern, even though the injection interval is almost 200 feet above the top of the Trinity Aquifer, because we don't really know how much of a hydrogeologic barrier there is between them. And since other studies that indicate the possibility of communication between the lower Edwards and the upper Glen Rose formations, the buffer radius was doubled to 3,600 feet. And then I also sent an info packet to Elvis with records that I dug up from the Railroad Commission and our database. And so there are a few documents that got sent along. If you are interested, curious about the injection well and the documentation. Next slide. So this is still the Upper Trinity, but it shows all the applied exclusions And one of those are the two districts, the Edwards Aquifer Authority and the Barton Springs District, which collectively exclude about 90% of the proposed zone in the Upper Glen Rose. The freshwater buffer distance for the Upper Glen Rose is 5.5 miles. And this distance essentially functions as a horizontal hydrogeologic barrier or a distance barrier. Because we don't have all the flow properties of all those faults modeled. So, next slide. Moving on to the Middle Trinity. This map shows the proposed Middle Trinity zone, which is quite large. Water quality control points, salinity mapping, and faults. Next slide. Now this one shows the exclusions and the buffers. And you'll notice that the Barton Springs district, which is purple on that map, impacts the zone area in the northern counties. The buffer distance for the Middle Trinity is 6.5 miles. This proposed zone includes all unexcluded area between the freshwater buffer and the excluded wells, the excluded district, and the down dip very saline groundwater. And this distance essentially functions as a horizontal hydrogeologic barrier. Next slide. This map shows the proposed Lower Trinity zone, water quality control points, salinity mapping, and the faults. Also quite a large zone. Next slide. And again, notice that the Barton Springs district impacts the zone area in the northern counties. This proposed zone includes all unexcluded areas between the freshwater buffer and the excluded wells and the excluded district, and down dip to the very saline groundwater interface. The buffer distance for the Lower Trinity is 6 miles. This distance essentially functions as a horizontal hydrogeologic barrier. That's all I have on the Trinity. I wanted to share this. I'm not going to walk through all this, but I tried to put the roles for the permittee and GCDs and the agency for the BGPC production permitting activities. So this says all the statutes that are listed below, and I tried to split them up just to it helps me to organize who's doing what, but I'm not going to read through all of them, but that's there if you want it for your reference. Next slide. So next steps, as far as the official pathways for zone designation is I've drafted a board memo and it's undergoing peer review. And we have it scheduled to be on the September 10th board meeting agenda. And that is a time where they will consider the recommendation to designate those officially as zones. I didn't put anything else specific to data connects, just because a lot of those moving parts are not in my realm of decision making. So I'm just going to keep it to what is the official path for the zone designation. And then next slide is, do you have any questions for me?
Christy, I'd like to go back to the zone production volumes, and that was slide 6, page 16. Okay, those are very conservative numbers.
They are.
How were those arrived at? What was the database for that?
Those are from the aquifer tests, primarily in the freshwater portion of the aquifer. I don't think we have found any in the brackish portion of the aquifer. And so we'll take the well discharge volume and we'll make a probability plot of it. And we do the same with the transmissivity values that are backed out of those aquifer tests. And we will use like a moderate to high value on those probability plots to put into I was told to remove all the technical details, so I don't have them in here. I think it's a modified Cooper Jacob. I don't recall, or anyways. We use that to back out the buffer distance using the data from the aquifer test, and then we have storativity values that are usually compiled in the GAMS. And we'll go look at those, and we also use the storativity. We look at the DFCs just for some sort of calibration, I guess, like where they're at. And
Just to note,
I'm sure I'm missing something, but that's the basics.
in chapter 36 in Texas law, the groundwater law, there's a whole section just on brackish groundwater. And so there's a slightly different permitting process and stuff. So, for example, once these zones are adopted by the water board, the groundwater districts can only grant permits up to these amounts. So they basically create the limit, and the groundwater districts by law, we cannot permit more than what the water board has set for that zone. So once the zone is created and adopted, that's why EdgeConneX is quickly trying to gather data and do pump tests and drill down 4,000 feet to gather data to bring it to the water board so that
Correct.
they can have a data point. As stated, there aren't any wells that deep in this area. And so there's no data. They're using fresh groundwater well data to try to extrapolate. So by getting real data from this hopefully it'll, basically the EdgeConneX, I told them we are science driven. And so they need to prove in and gather the science to convince the water board on these production volumes. And we are limited by law. We cannot grant permits greater than what the water board allocates.
What's the procedure for modifying the zone production volumes based on the better, or I should say, real data?
I was told it has to go through an amendment process.
There is an amendment, and there is a document on our webpage on the zone. There's a zone on Brax that is specific. Sorry. There's a page that is specific to the zones, and that document should be on there, but I can send it to Alex if that makes it easier and he can distribute it. And so how we came about with that process was with stakeholder input. And so if there's like, if it requires modeling, then it would be considered a major revision. And if it doesn't, if it's like, oh, well, these wells existed and you didn't have them here, so we want to cut out this part of the zone because those wells were there and you missed them. That kind of thing, that's like minor amendment. And then we have, I think, 6 months if we need to model it, and then 90 days. I don't remember, but there's different time. And then we just process that data because we just don't know. We don't have the data to to support that pumping unless we see it in the science and the collected data. So
Okay,
that's how that works.
okay, does it fall to the individual groundwater districts to put forth the amendment, or to collect the data and do the modeling?
No, it's, I believe that would be the one who wants the permit, right? They can collect the data. And I would imagine they have some groundwater scientists who could model that and prove up that, yes, this is valid and we can pump this much.
Okay,
And then,
so it would be the permittee. Okay, permit is, from when I read up that page of the different, the permittee, the groundwater district, DWC, is that it's the groundwater district that grants the permit, okay, to the permittee, but it's the Water Development Board that examines or scrutinizes the permit and then gives the okay to the GCD.
correct, but this is separate from the zone amendment. But yes, that's
Okay.
right. We just look at it and say, yeah, that looks good. And we're mostly concerned, I think with something like this is identifying the most vulnerable wells in terms of water levels and water quality and trying to make that like a baseline data set to compare it to. And then we make some monitoring recommendations and see if those water levels or quality has been impacted. I think that's basically it. We're not saying yes or no. We're just saying, okay, we've reviewed it. And here's our monitoring recommendations.
Okay, once an amendment is requested, presuming that it's based on the science, you've got data, you've done modeling, the whole bit. Okay, how long would it take to, once that's submitted, how long would it take the amendment process to go through, which I take it is all within the Water Development Board, or does it have to go to another entity other than the Water Development Board?
It is just us. And let me see, find the, I'm not super familiar with, I'll just drop a link in the chat.
I mean, I was told informally it could be 6 months to a year.
Okay,
Yeah, I need to open this. I don't remember. It's been a while. My memory is not what it used to be. Sorry.
I have a question. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So under Christy, under your middle column GCD, I'm having the most problem with your first bullet. Provide equitable access for brackish permits. And so the available water, I mean, you showed us like baby water for like Lost Pines, like permits are big. And so I'm wondering what kind of, how we would establish some sort of correlative right for permits that small. Have y'all thought about that?
Correlative rights would be more the modeling group.
So I
And
guess
no, Brax has not thought about correlative rights for
because
these
I'm worried about it.
quantities.
How do we make it equitable? Do we split up like equal portions of the zone and then base it off of how much access that permittee has to the zone?
Christy, I remember seeing in your report that you have numbers based on per well. Is that, am I remembering correctly that these numbers have like a per well assignment?
Yeah, and that was basically taking one well and doing the modeling and then divvying up the area by the well radius.
So I have seen where they took the numbers and they did it by well.
but that's for the whole.
That's for the whole district.
The whole, even worse,
Yeah.
it can span multiple counties,
Right.
right? If you take a
Okay.
look at these maps, let's say like, if you take a look at I'm going the wrong way.
Well, I also did the county and basin splits, like
Yeah.
regional
Yes.
planning or like the GAMRA. And so they're also, those numbers are also presented like that, and they get even smaller.
She did. Okay.
Yeah, there's a report, there's a more detailed,
I want to
like,
see that.
that has
Yeah.
it by county and by well.
Okay.
I'll give you a link to that too. I'll drop it
But
in
yeah,
the
you
chat.
see these zones are,
They're
huge, right?
huge.
They're huge, all the way down to Uvalde,
Yeah.
all the way up to Bastrop, and then that's the middle. And for the middle, you're looking at 2,700 for the whole middle across all those counties.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so when Edge Connect saw this, they're like, this makes no financial sense to us.
Yeah.
We're not gonna drill 4,000 feet just for a subset of 2,700. So they need to
Okay.
do a lot of science and collect a lot of data to prove in a bigger number.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have to make it equitable.
Yes.
Thank you, Christy.
I have a question back under GCD, on the permitting roles. There's a notation down here, not impair property rights. Could you expand on that? What does that mean exactly?
Where is this up?
Under
I
T.
couldn't even begin. I don't know. That is not my area of expertise. I'm a geologist.
I would imagine that it means you can't mess up somebody's fresh groundwater well, for starters.
What needs to be defined, so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
exactly what that means.
That's right out of statute. And yeah, you know how interpreting that is. I think that would be a question for your
Where?
legal.
There's a whole section in chapter 36 specific to brackish rules. For example, in the permitting process, the very first step, when we do get a brackish permit, we have to first send it to the water board. They look it over and kind of give it an okay, and then we can have it a hearing. So there's like an additional step there that's different than normal permits. So, and that's all defined in chapter 36 in that brackish groundwater section.
I understand, but it doesn't say that specifically, and if that includes something that, we're not taking into account, that sounds like a lawsuit to me.
Yeah.
We have to draft your rules to mirror the statute.
Yep.
And we have to figure out what impair means.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, Christy. We appreciate it. Very informative presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. And I put links to both the amendment guidance and the open file report for this particular project in the chat. And if you have any other questions, Elvis, please just compile them and send them at a later time.
Thank you so much. This is so relevant to our district here with the Edge Connect. So thank you again.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, regular agenda item 4C. Discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding application by Organics by Gosh for 2 operating permits to withdraw 30 acre-feet of water each per year in Bastrop County for industrial purposes from the Colorado River alluvium.
Should we ask? Why don't you speak first and then I'll come up afterwards and play cleanup here.
Just an overview of the project and why we're applying for this, et
Yeah.
cetera. Okay, I'll introduce myself first. I'm Zach. I'm with Organics by Gosh. I've been with them since about 2018. And looking up here, you can see that there's an application for 2 wells. We have 2 existing wells that were granted in 2020. They're further north on the property. I brought a couple pictures, but they're going to be small for everybody around here. I can still try. So just for reference, what we do is we manage organic waste, organic green waste, and we turn it around, we recycle it, turn it into soil, sell that back to the market, diverting it from landfill, etc. That process requires a lot of heavy equipment, grinders, etc., and that can produce massive amounts of dust if not managed properly. So that's part of our operational plan and requirements for the community is not to be a nuisance. So dust mitigation is very important. And more importantly than that, I would say, is fire suppression, because we're dealing with a large quantity of combustible material stored on site. And if managed properly, that's just fine, but it requires resources such as water on hand. And when you need it, the GPM is very important. So the average quantity consumed may not be that great. However, you need high flow on demand. What we have, and I'll kind of turn this slowly for everybody, is this site off of the 969, and you can see the material stockpiles, the windrows, and various stages of development, and then our blending and outbound bulk. So it's a circular system in and out of the site. We have a well here and here. Operationally, that was not perfect or ideal, but that's where the water barely reached when we initially got this set up. It's a fragile and thin gravel layer, but that's where we set it. And it was fine for several years. And what we found recently, or in the last few years, get this oriented for you guys. So this is a bigger picture, or a more zoomed out picture from Google Maps, where you can see the mining activity that's been occurring exactly on our property boundary. So you've got our wells right here, and you've got a thin gravel layer that we're pulling from in the mid-30s in depth. And then there's a 50-foot canyon right next to us with standing water in it, massive quantity. So in order to maintain our responsibility for both dust suppression, all the above, but really the fire response and responsibilities, and to process material effectively, because you can't just fix all of this at once if something goes wrong. It's about proper, responsible management every day. We've gone south, which again, for reference, is about down here. Now, geographically, that's not convenient for us, but the water is much more reliable there. And we're applying to basically replace what we used to have. So, and then we're going to have to pay to pipe it up and all of the above. Just for comparison, now double check the permits. I'm not a specialist here, but we were originally granted the 150 GPM. I think they're both rated at for 50 AP or 50 AFY each. So bringing that to a total of 100. We're using closer to, I would say 10, maybe 25. And the GPMs on the northern well, after the digging started, and once there was a major dig and the dust next door stopped, and I got curious and flew the drone up and looked down and over, saw all the water there. It kind of explained why we weren't seeing the dust coming from next door anymore. All the water was a lake now. At about that time, our northernmost well turned brown and reduced to kind of a oscillating on and off. So compromise, which is a risk to the community and to our operation. The southern well still performs, but not nearly to its original standards. It's at about 50%. So we see the writing on the wall. We need to stay ahead of it, and we want to be responsible. So that's why we're investing in redundant systems for the safety of our operation as well as the community.
You said there was a canyon with standing water in it?
There's a mining operation with no buffer.
It's Alamo Concrete is
Yeah.
next door neighbor
Okay,
to.
they're the source of the water that's standing there. And where's the water coming from?
Well, it's alluvial water.
Oh,
Yeah, Colorado
okay,
River.
all right.
And we're pulling from the mid-30s in depth, I would say. And they've dug much beyond that,
Yeah.
right? And they're also pumping it out so they can keep digging. They're just sending it out of the canyon, it's refilling. So we kind of have to circumvent that somehow.
So your existing well right now is like at 30 feet or so? I mean, it's not that deep.
Not at all.
Okay.
It's a thin, fragile gravel layer.
Right.
It's what we could do within the geographic necessity for us. And now we got to bite off the next stage and figure out how to booster pump it to where it needs to be from a different area of the property.
The alluvial there is only about 40 feet deep.
Okay.
And then after the alluvial, it's the midway group. There is, the Carrizo is not in there.
Okay.
So it's the alluvial and then the midway group. And the alluvial is about 30, 40 feet deep.
So he's just gonna put in a new well that's only gonna drop another 10 feet.
Yeah, 2 new wells, and it's gonna drop about 10 locally right at the wellhead. I have got some slides.
Would you keep the older wells pumping or the one that's still pumping, or would you close those 2 wells off?
For the sake of safety and redundant systems, I prefer not to sabotage existing equipment. Again, I'd be happy to rate them at a lower GPM that's truer to performance because there's no sense in, reporting 50 acre feet per year.
When you're
That's
not using
nowhere
it.
close to what we're consuming. But whatever we need to do to accommodate, your requirements, et cetera. However, I would just personally like to submit that I think it'd be wiser to have the existing wells, compromised or not, let them still perform as a backup.
So one looks like it's probably not working at all, and
It
then the other.
surges on and off.
Okay, and then the other one is about at 50% of what it had been.
Yeah, I timed it with our water truck. It's a 2,000 gallon water truck. I timed it at about, on a good day, 25 minutes. And we're probably filling it up with about 1,800 gallons realistically. Comes out to 80 GPM on a good day. And sometimes it's worse. So that's what I have. But when it comes down to, again, managing this quantity of stockpiles, and we're not looking to over drench because what you get is leaching, et cetera, runoff. So when we do irrigate piles preemptively, that's for a few purposes. One, because you need to responsibly meet the PFRP requirements, which is a sanitation process wherein the piles become hot above 131 degrees. Generally in Texas, you're looking at more like the high 150s at least. And you turn the pile, you integrate the moisture, et cetera. So I'm not here to give a composting class, but
Do you see yourself expanding your operation over the coming years, or are you at capacity right now in regards to what you're taking in to turn into compost?
So by footprint, we're nowhere close to capacity. We could spread it out. We actually reduced our footprint in 2022 or 3. We were operating on the neighboring property as well. We chose to just remediate completely and consolidate onto one piece of property. Right now, we're permitted for up to 250,000 cubic yards of combustibles plus finished products that are blended, et cetera. I think, we being granted at least 108, AFY is reasonable.
I'd like to go back to what you said, the ditches there, the water's coming up. Those folks are pumping it away.
So I'm not here to point fingers because I don't have 100% of the details.
My
I won't
question-
be responsible, but
My question is there a way to capture the water that's coming up that they don't want and use someplace else?
so we've looked at that. The thing is, it's a moving target. What they're operating is a mining operation, and it migrates consistently. Their job is to pump it out of the way anywhere to where their own holding tanks, whatever they want to do, and then they migrate the digging up our property line, which just makes the process worse. Right now, they're moving north. They've pretty much already done what they're going to do below. So we've looked at that. It's it's cost prohibitive for us in our position. I can tell you that. And my further concern is the reliability long term. We need something that is turnkey and reliable, or I don't feel comfortable having my face on that operation.
So it's basically a dollar thing. It's very expensive.
It's a dollar thing, but it's also like the operational effectiveness. It may not actually be there because look at the head depth that we're actually pumping up. We're moving a 6-inch diesel pump into a canyon that is always moving with active operations, tossing a suction hose in there and trying to convey that water to our existing system on top of clogging any irrigation heads, et cetera. That's kind of an issue. Plus, it's not on our property, so you get into the liability risk. It's Alamo Concrete's property and operation. They've got MSHA and all these different things. So we can't just have our guys wandering in their canyons. If you understand.
I do
I
understand
want the
that.
water very much, and if they would pump it towards us, I'd put up a huge holding tank and a booster pump. That'd work fine.
Such a waste for the
It
water.
is terrible waste.
It's a terrible waste of the water.
I agree with you wholly, but here I am with the issue that kind of has evolved. Is that a decent overview of what you need? You can ask me any questions.
So we had
I can answer.
Spiros take a look at this. And Gretchen, before she went on vacation, she evaluated this. So you see the one picture of the southern portion or the southern portion of your property.
You can see the standing water right next to it too in the canyon.
Yep.
The green, that
The algae stuff, yeah.
Exactly, mining, and it's migrated north since then.
do they have to reclaim that land once they mine that sand out of there, or?
It's filled back in eventually. That's part of the remediation process. I believe they're required to do, but again, I'm in a different business.
Yeah, that's not your area.
Yeah.
50 years down the road.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So these are the nearby wells.
But that gravel vein is not going to be restored, right?
Yeah.
They're
They'll
just
have
going
to
to fill
fill
it
it
with
in with
whatever.
something else.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, please.
Okay, any other questions for me?
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
have a seat.
So you see this, the two wells are the two yellow stars in the center. And then they meet all the spacing requirements. So given the GPMs, they needed, I believe it was 1,500 feet well spacing requirements. They meet that. The wells that are closest are their own wells, the two existing wells, which is numbers 1, 5, and 6. They have a domestic well for their trailer office. So those are their closest wells, is their own wells. And so they took a look at that. Then Wally, I believe you had done this analysis, Wally. He took 3 different transmissivities based upon, one was Alamo Concrete. They had a pump test, so they used this transmissivity from that pump test. They used different values, and they did a kind of a best case, middle case, an average case, and then they looked at 1 day and 30 day. So they did all their hydrological stuff. And this is the drawdown map. You see within on the right-hand side is the zoom in. Within a few hundred feet, I think within 300 feet, you hit a 1 foot drawdown. And then after that, it quickly goes to half a foot and then to 0 feet of drawdown. So it's very localized and the impacts are fairly small. So the conclusion and the recommendation is that the requested amounts should not have any significant adverse impacts. And we recommend the conditional approval based upon the successful completion of the required pump test. And per our rules, with the 150 GPMs does require at least a 12-hour pump test. So that is required by rules. I recommend that there are 2 wells. I recommend that we waive the pump test on one of the 2 wells. They're very close to one another. And if they would be willing, if they could do a simultaneous pump test where they pump from one and then monitor both wells at the same time. Dr. Miller says that would provide really good information that we don't have. And so looking at you guys, if that would be okay with you guys to do.
I think so.
I know the pump test was okay, and so maybe just using the second well as a monitoring well as well.
If it gives you useful data, we're happy to provide that.
Cool.
If there's anything additional scope, things that cost us more money when this is already kind of an unexpected endeavor, I have to, confer with my
Right.
bosses before I give you a definitive
Right.
answer, but
Okay.
I want to help you guys.
Yeah, and we've got some test equipment that Wally's is prototype and testing right now. So we've got some equipment that we could help possibly and utilize to capture that data while you're doing the pump test.
Yeah.
So we can work together on the equipment and provide you the equipment for that to monitor. And then the other recommendation is that if they would be open to providing us with a dedicated monitoring well. Given this is an alluvial well, it's not going to be very deep. They're probably going to be punching a test well anyway, so maybe, hopefully, we can use one of those test wells and then put a 30-foot pipe in there. It doesn't have to be fancy. We just need to be able to put a sensor down there and have a dedicated monitoring well. So those are my recommendations. The recommendation is to grant the permit. Obviously, there is a requirement for the pump test that's required. We're asking if they can do the simultaneous test, just and waive the second pump test, and if they could dedicate a monitoring well for us. So that's the conclusion there.
Anybody have any more questions for Elvis?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, hearing none, could I have a motion to grant 2 operating permits to withdraw 30 acre-feet of water each per year by Organics by Gosh, subject to the conclusion recommendations that our general manager just put forward?
I make a motion to everything you said.
I so
Can I
moved.
do that?
Yes, you can.
I s- Second.
Second, okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry, I was planning that. The
I know.
whole time. I was
I know.
planning it, I had to. Okay, all right.
Bobby's got it written down.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion passes. Thank you. Yes,
Before you move on,
sure.
Melissa, can you click the side of your microphone till it turns green? Side of it. There we go.
So we were talking.
She was, yeah, I told them.
Okay.
All right.
Very good.
Okay, regular agenda item 4D, a presentation by Spiros Environmental regarding district groundwater levels. Ollie, I believe you're up, sir.
Let me share first, like I shared.
Copy of the presentation is in your agenda packets.
Hello, everybody. My name is Wallace Darling with Spheros Environmental. Met a couple of you, but not everybody. I'm a hydrogeologist there, and today I'll be presenting on some of the water level studies that we've been doing and just kind of some overall trends that we've been seeing throughout the district. Just as a background to go over, I think everyone's probably seen the 3D model that has been created and everything just to show off the aquifers and all that fun stuff, but everything out here kind of has that down dip out to the east, so everything gets deeper as you go out. A lot of the wells out here are drilled more in that upper sections of the outcrops and then the more shallow zones. So this figure here just kind of goes over. It's got lists of all the wells here within Lost Pines as of July 3rd. There was over 5,100. Of those, we've got water levels, and this could be as much as one single static water level, just any water level in general. There's 1,263 records. And within all of those, through the spring 2026 monitoring program that Elvis and the district have put together, we, as in me, a couple other colleagues at Spheros, Elvis has gone out as well. We did 158 different locations to go out and get some new water levels. I believe that started, what was it?
Like 2.5, 3 months ago?
2.5, 3 months, yeah. And as you can see, they're pretty spread out. So we hit almost everywhere in the district is very big endeavor, but we could always add a couple more in there for some areas that we're missing some data. These next couple slides just go over some of the basics of some of the areas we hit with some of the water levels we had gotten. We don't have to spend too much time on them, but it's just nice to see the distribution of the wells that we were out there getting. So here it shows the Sparta. You can see there's a couple little islands of the outcrop out there and areas. So we managed to get one in there, and then all up along the rest of it. Queen City, we had a ton of data, And this, I don't believe I even have everything on the screen of all the ones we got in here, but we do have all the data. It's all being uploaded into the Lost Pines database. Nice distribution in here. And something that we found out in here, and just my time going through, we actually encountered a gentleman up in the northern west area of Lee County that has 2 Queen City wells, one of which is starting to pull air, and another one on his mother's property is completely dry. Just within the past couple of years, he likes to come. There's possibly some large projects just on the next side of the border there, of the county borders, but it's just something that we ran into out there, and he was very appreciative of us to come out and check his wells and see what water levels were out there. Same thing, did everything out here for the Carrizo, Calvert Bluff. Yeah, go ahead.
Simsboro and on the Hoopers, I noticed that you're not putting like names for Bastrop and everything, just to give us a perspective of where the wells are. Because like,
I'm sorry, yeah, my
just
that's a layering thing. Yeah, and I should have had some.
I'm actually kind of down in that area, so that's why I need.
Gotcha. Okay, that's my bad with the figures. I'm sorry.
Okay, so it's, okay.
Here in the Hooper. So along with all of those wells, tied within are some of the DFC wells, so the desired future conditions. GMA 12 has recently had all of its meetings, and that is as confusing as it can be anytime you listen in with those. The DFC proposed DFCs that were put out June 1st that have not been fully accepted, I believe. Right, Elvis? These are just
They're still proposed.
They're still
and We're in
proposed.
the middle of the public comment period.
So these are just what I have listed out here, where those are up top. So within the Sparta, these are the total average drawdowns throughout the entire district for each aquifer, and then the count of wells that we have for all the DFC wells within. So you can see how, as we get more into the southern portion of the county, there are some missing data points there where you got one Simsboro way down there and then kind of nothing else. Yes.
So is our goal to try and get more monitoring wells down in that area?
We've been trying for years now. We've sent out letters.
Okay.
And we've solicited, and so we've been trying.
So when we talk about a monitoring well, we're talking about a well that is strictly for monitoring. We're not.
No.
Nope. These are working domestic wells.
It's monitoring.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some that could be dedicated monitoring, but the majority are working wells.
I'll talk to you about that one on my property.
Yeah, ideally, yeah. I mean, we can use both. We just have to make sure that the well's not
Actively pumping.
actively pumping.
Yep.
Yeah.
When you take
When we take the measurement.
Okay.
Right.
So what these are showing here are, and I had updated some slides, but didn't get them in time, but it did have the well locations actually marked out on the map so you can see. But these animations run through from the GMA 12 most recent groundwater model that was created here, and to see drawdown that is happening here. So in the Sparta, DFC of 22 feet throughout the entire district. There's not too much happening. There's maybe it's estimated there will be about 100 foot, or not 100 foot. The graph shows that it could look like it's 100 foot, but really within here we aren't seeing all that much. It's maybe within 10 to 90 feet overall. But as you can see, some of the wells, and these ones in particular, are all almost up here in this Burleson, Lee County area, where there are some other large well fields there where you'll see those impacts that are happening. And you see the one in green where it shows it's actually an increase in drawdown, or an increase in water levels. I left this one in here just because there's one particular well out there that has a very, very long record, but there are a lot of data errors where it shoots back up to 0 all the time. And, this could potentially be just errors with sensors and things like that. But it's in there just to show that, while you're looking at a lot of the data out here, you got to make sure you grab a lot of these things. And so it's just saying that so 1810 and then 1808 are actually right next to each other, within at least a couple hundred or a mile or two, and we're seeing an increase in water level and then a decrease in water level all within the same area. So area just to watch out for is going to be up in that, which is going to be a pattern with all of these. The northern portion is to be watched. So here's 1808. You can see, so the blue line is the modeled drawdown from the groundwater model versus the observed records that we have for this actual well. And in the beginning, it was following pretty well along with it. And right there in about 2025, 2026, some additional pumping permits possibly come online, and you can see a sharp drop. This is where, as long as we continue to observe and get these water levels, this could have potentially just been one large permit coming online, and things can stabilize once pressures return. But it is up in that northern portion of Lee County. Queen City, same thing. These are just some of the wells we went out, and not all of these are from the spring monitoring program. I tried to get wells that had a time range with at least more than 15 points of records on them, so we weren't just doing, two separate points to say that there was a drawdown. This area itself, it's got overall drawdowns in the model, of course, showing that we're going to go down a little, and then there is some encroachment from that southern portion in Fayette County that is saying, some larger permits will come on there and potentially see some more drawdown. But overall, Queen City stays pretty stable with our modeled and observed results. Typically, as we're more in the central portion of the district, they seem to follow the model trends pretty well. The Carrizo, which has more of the scary animations on them, these ones show some of the larger impacts to pumping that is occurring. And that one's tough because there's a large DFC here for 134 foot across the entire district, but some wells will be hit harder than others, just kind of how it goes. As you can see though, in these, I have the aquifer interval also graphed on here. So where we're at with the observed now is about 200 feet above, so artesian head pressure above that aquifer. It's still doing well. There's still, water here, but if we get too far away from those model results in the DFCs, it could cause problems for these well owners. And of course, these are all up there in that northern portion that are usually getting affected. I feel like it's the same animation over and over in all these ones, but that same thing again, right up there in that top bit. And it's not to cause any alarm or anything like that. It's just showing that these are areas that we should be watching out on, make sure we're out there getting the data for them. So any decisions that you guys have to make in the future can just be based there on real science. This one's hard to look at, right? When we have these groundwater availability models, they've got their aquifer surfaces modeled out, and in some areas you can have the elevations be incorrect and things like that. So this well itself is not going into the aquifer. It hasn't lost any artesian head at this point, but it's something that just show like, hey, the models are great, but when you're out there doing the real data and real science, those are what to pay attention to. A lot of pressure in this one. These two wells that are green are actually located more in the southern and central part. So they've seen an increase over time, and these have extremely long records on them, 1950 to 2025 and 1950 to 2022. I would love to get more data on the 2982 to see since 2022 has anything changed since it last said it was actually increasing in water levels. Super in that northern portion, I feel like they've got this area modeled pretty well, following there along the trends, and they are estimating some large permits to come online in 2030, and I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens over there. And the Hooper, the Hooper actually has the least amount of data as far as I can tell whenever we're going through these. All three of these wells are located two of them are in Bastrop County and one of them is in Lee County, but they're all close to the borderline. So we're not seeing a lot of the effect yet of any of the additional pumping that's happening more north. So any more wells that we could possibly get there in the monitoring program would help out a ton. So same thing, if this well itself has not gone down into the aquifer level yet, still artesian head in it, but what this one here shows is based on all of the wells that we have data on, what their well depth is compared to the remaining artesian head within each aquifer based on the models. So of course those can vary, and this doesn't take into account any wells that are possibly telescoped or where their screen intervals are. There's just not enough complete data to really nail that down, but we had enough to say based on the total well depths, we can use all of those wells. So this is going to be out of all the wells within each aquifer, how many have artesian head percentage left at the end in 2080 or 2079. Sparta, Queen City, all, over 74% of them. Carrizo and Calvert Bluff is where those wells and people that have their wells are going to be affected the most, possibly needing to drill deeper to get down into that after all the drawdowns that come through. Yes.
Wally, the model you use, PS4-2 mod V8, that was the model that was developed and used for the GMA 12 discussions over the last year to come up with the DFCs.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is telling us a little bit about what the DFCs would be.
And I believe the way it was is Lost Pines didn't change.
Yeah, Lost Pine, this is our final model run, and this is the official final model run that the GMA 12 voted on, is mod V8. So this is the latest and greatest.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No problem.
No.
I think, yeah, and
The remaining artesian head is as of when?
so that was this percentage there was the end of the model run 2080.
2079.
2079. Yeah. December 2079. That's when it is. So the key takeaways on this is that what the district is doing with their monitor leveling program is amazing. They're putting, I don't know another districts that putting as much effort into collecting all these water levels.
Post Oak's got more.
Do they? Oh, well,
Yeah, but they got 3 dedicated field techs.
there you go. So they're doing what they can.
And lots more money.
Yeah, our money.
Never forget that.
Just additional sites, which Elvis and the team are working on always to pick out new sites and things like that to add them into the program. And then, as I think everyone's kind of aware of, up in that northern portion of Lee County, there are a lot of pressures from the neighboring counties. Yeah. Try not to drop names.
So
We can whisper it.
I'm trying to figure out with drawdown and well pumping up to 2079, how can some wells increase their water levels? How is that possible?
That is a great question, and I have to think of when you out to 2079 using the modeled runs, I've never seen an increase. It's always a decrease. So when we look at the real world data and some of these wells are showing increases, it leads me to believe when you're looking at the geology out there, depending on where fault lines and things like that are, you can have a well, both two in the Simsboro that are, a mile apart. They have a fault line that runs through. They're no longer connected, and the pumping that's happening just north of them is drawing down one, and then this other one's still getting recharged as slow as it could potentially be, and that one's not getting as affected.
And those positive numbers that you're seeing, we have a lot of pumping in our district has not yet started.
Yeah.
Right? Recharge, Gatehouse, LCRA, those have not really started yet. So the numbers that you see in 2079, obviously, there's a lot more pressure upon our aquifers at that date. So right now, some of those wells are looking good. Give it 20 years, they're probably going to be negative.
And inside of the packets that y'all have are just a ton of these. I ran them on. And most wells that I had some substantial data on, I compared to the model, so y'all can look through it, see if anything stands out at you. But I think that's all I got. Any questions? Additional?
Thank you, Wally.
Thank you.
Okay, item 4E, the Education and Outreach Coordinators Report. No action will be taken. Claire.
Y'all. Alrighty. We have a bunch of events coming up. On July 31st, we will be at Giddings High School doing the Lee County Wildlife Expo. We'll be doing a presentation. We'll do the Groundwater 101 workshop. So if you're interested in seeing that presentation, come on out to the expo. We also will have another rainwater harvesting workshop August 22nd at Bastrop Community Gardens. Y'all are welcome. If you're interested in coming, let me know. And September 21st, we're having a healthy lawn workshop. We tried to do this last year. No one signed up. So I am hoping this year we'll get more people to sign up. And then the week after that, we're doing another class, Planting for Resilience. I'm excited about this one. We're partnering with some master gardeners on this, and they're going to be teaching about why we need to use native plants, how it saves water, and which ones suit our region. Then on October 17th, we are participating in the Smithville Sustainable Home and Garden Show. We also are sponsoring that. We're giving them $500 and we'll be sponsoring that event. This is always one of our biggest outreach events. I always get signups for our Well Watch program, our email newsletter. It's just a great way to meet the public. So I'm a big fan of this event. And then that same day, I will not be there, but there is the Middle Yewa Creek Watershed Protection Working Group, which we are a part of, is having a Middle Yewa Creek cleanup. So we're very excited about this. Our district has pledged $500 to sponsor, I think it's breakfast. So we're going to be sponsoring breakfast for all the volunteers, and we're excited to participate in that. October 27th, we're having a native tree workshop. We had something similar last year that Tom actually presented at. This year, we're specifically focusing on native trees, how to plant them, how to select them, all that good stuff. And then November 7th, we are participating again in the Lost Pines Habitat and Wildlife Day. This is at Bastrop State Park. We will be featuring our watershed model. We did that last year, big hit with the kids. So we're going to be doing that again. And then I also wanted to let y'all know, next year is our 25th anniversary in operation as a district. We started operating in November 2002. Next year we'll be doing a whole campaign, Know Your Well, Know Your Water. One of the things that I would love to do is telling the Lost Pines water story from the Native Americans who settled here and because of the water-rich land to now, and then what the next 25 years looks like for our region. So I'm really looking forward to putting that video together, both in long form and then hopefully some short form reels for social media. And we're looking for a documentarian. So if anyone knows anyone, send them my way. Would love that.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on this. We spend a lot of time and focus on documentaries just on the last couple of years, and the impact and the reach that these videos have, especially on the younger generation, has been pretty substantial. Going to events and seeing and being able to utilize this video not only on social media and our website, but also at the events themselves. And a lot of folks, same folks attend these events. So once they see it multiple times, it really starts to sink in. So I have a videographer that I would love to recommend, but it is a great asset for education.
Thank you.
Yep.
Something else to think about too is contacting either Texas State University or Texas A&M and their whatever program they have
Yeah.
But get a master's student to do a master's thesis, putting together a documentary.
Okay. Love that. Okay. Couple program updates. Since our last May board meeting, we have had 8 inspections of rainwater harvesting systems. So very happy about that. This last class that we had in April, we had a great response of people actually submitting applications and then actually installing their systems. So I'm very happy with the presenter. He gave very high level information and it seemed to work and people were able to move forward. So he's going to be presenting in August as well. And if you're interested, please come out. It's really good information, y'all. Okay. And then our agricultural production meter program, we just got in our mail the first meter. We had one person submit an application, praise God, and we finally have 1 meter. So I'm going to be reaching out to them to install that. We also talked with the Water Development Board about extending our contract. Originally, all meters had to be installed by July 31st. That's not going to happen. So they're going to push that out until next year and it will be July 31st, 2027. Our goal is to have 65 meters installed. So 1 down, 64 to go.
Metered if they have 200 acre feet.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. So my plan is to send out written letters again. Last time we sent it out last year. And I basically said, hey, give me a call if you're interested in this free meter. This next time I do it, I'm actually going to send them the application and an envelope stamped and addressed ready to go so they can just fill it out and mail it in right away.
We have people that are producing 200 acre feet that don't have meters.
Yes.
Probably.
We
So I
have,
didn't let them know that's a.
oh yeah, that's what our letter did. Our letter told them, hey, just so you know, it's required by rules that you comply with this. To help you comply, we're gonna give you a free meter.
There's a lot of
There's a
not
lot,
knowing what's going on.
yeah, and there's a lot of folks that just don't want to participate
Correct,
in
yeah.
government
We had
program.
For
But,
200 acre
yeah.
feet, then
Yeah.
they
Don't
we
wanna
need
do
to say
something in
you're
writing.
required. You
Yeah.
either pay for it yourself or.
Yep. That's what we say in the letter. We had a couple people call back and say, well, I never knew about this. When did you guys make this rule? And he said, well, we promoted it and it's been public and sorry you weren't paying attention. So we're going to do another round of letters and just put the application in the letter. Hopefully that'll make it easier for them.
Something to think about. Once you got that 1 meter out there, and if you can get a testimonial from that guy
Yeah.
to put into your marketing.
Yeah. Love that.
Salesman called me. It's what the guy is going to say.
Any questions? Go.
Okay, thank you, Claire. Agenda item 4F, the general manager's report, no action will be taken.
General Manager's report. I'm going to give you data from both May and June since we did not have the June board meeting. In May, we had 14 drilling permits. In June, another 15. That seems to be the trend now, and we're getting about 15 to 20 new permit requests for mostly domestic wells per month. And Form 300s, these are existing wells that are registering that were not registered. We had 1 in May and 2 in June. Drought conditions, as everyone knows, it's been raining, hooray, and drought has gotten better. There's still a portion of western Bastrop County that still was, as of, when I did this, it was a week ago. So as of a week ago, there was half of Bastrop County was still in severe drought. I'm sure that will change given the recent rains in the past few days. Lee County was D0 and D1 drought stage, again, as of last week. So things are picking up and improving, which is great. All right, so there's been about several letters that were sent out in the past month. There was a letter to GMA 12 that there was some incorrect meeting minutes, trying to get that corrected. So the next time the GMA 12 meets, and when we go to approve those meeting minutes, I'll bring that up and we'll have a discussion to correct that at the next GMA 12 meeting, which has not been set yet. We also sent a letter to Post Oak Savannah regarding the proposed DFCs and the process that was used at the last meeting on April 27th, that we disagree with the process that was used, that we believe that we need a single model run, and that is a requirement, and that it's that is necessary to be provided to the water board, and that we disagreed with the process used to select the proposed DFCs for the Simsboro, where everyone just got to pick a number. And then lastly, we sent out a public statement regarding the Edge Connects. They had a quote town hall 2 weeks ago in Bastrop, and there was a placard that they were using that insinuated or implied that there was a partnership between Edge Connects and us and Aqua. And so I sent out a public letter saying there is no partnership. I just met with them once. So it was and it was just, we're providing services to them that we would provide to any permit holder, any landholder. So we don't have any special, because as everyone knows here on the board, to be a partner, it has to be debated and discussed here at the board, and the board has to vote on any partnerships. And by no way are we in a partnership with Edge Connect. So that letter was sent out, and we did grant a permit for a 4,000 for them to drill a 4,000-foot test well, and they're going to drill it all the way into the lower Trinity. In about, I believe in the next four to 5 weeks, they'll be drilling that well. And then in about 3 months, they should have some data that they can share with us and with the water board. The Lost Pines, we were awarded recently a grant by the Texas Water Development Board for data collection, a $50,000 grant. So thank you to the water board for that. Officially, it's actually a 2027 grant. All that means is that we cannot receive any money or spend any money until September, which is the fiscal year for 2027. So we'll just have to wait a couple of months till we can start actually purchasing the equipment. But that's underway. And I will soon be signing the contract. The contract's not even available yet. So the process is underway, and thank you for the water board for that. And that is for data collection in the Colorado River alluvial. The spring 2026 well monitoring is completed. Wally did some, Will, and from the Spheros has been busy, as you said, over 150 wells, which is a big improvement from prior years. There is a new Aqua non-exempt permit application that's being reviewed right now, and we are tentatively planning a hearing on that for the board, either like September or October coming up. That is an application near the Red Rock. There are 3 wells that are within 6 months of expiration of their 5-year expiration date. The City of Elgin, well 15, recharge wells, and the City of Bastrop, well J. Upcoming meetings, we will have to have a proposed DFC public hearing at some time in the next month or two, roughly. We also are planning a rules hearing for October for some new rules. So there's some draft rules floating around, folks, if you can take a look at the draft rules. And there's also a draft mitigation update for the mitigation program. So those are 2 drafts that have been sent to the board for your review. Lastly, upcoming meeting, Region K. Their next meeting is September 16th, 10 a.m. at the Austin LCRA Center on Montopolis, and that's September 16th, Region K. Any questions? Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, didn't we have something go out in regards to the recharge and the contract that they were overpromising? maybe not.
No, I had a discussion with the gentleman in the back,
Okay.
but there was no letter or anything like that.
Okay,
But I did express our concern over the news reports.
okay.
Elvis,
Yes.
talking about the DFCs and that still being up in the air. They also got the letter from Aqua saying the 35% overestimates what they actually have, whatever.
Yeah.
When are they going to discuss that? And is it not just Aqua? Does that affect other customers?
That letter was our first comment. So we are in the middle of the 90-day public comment period for the proposed DFCs. And that was the first comments that we've received from the public was that Aqua letter. That will definitely be discussed in the public hearing.
Are there other companies that are equally?
I will assume, yes, I will believe that we will be getting more comments from other entities, especially as we approach the hearing date and the day of the, we typically get comments like the day of the hearing or the day before the hearing. So I fully expect others and that we will be receiving comments.
We don't get a lot of time to think about them.
Well, that's a big gap though in even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Not just that they want to use their own little piece of the world, but that puts a real strain on.
Yep. So the way the process works is, right, all the GCDs in GMA 12, we each have our own individual public comment period and a public hearing. We receive all the comments. We have to coalesce them and then bring that back to the GMA 12, and then the GMA 12 has to review all those public comments before we vote on the final DFCs. So there'll be a public hearing here at our district, and there will be public comments and opportunity for folks at the GMA 12.
There's a timeline for this being resolved at some
Yep,
point.
we have a timeline of January 5th by state law. We must have the final DFCs voted on and approved by January 5th of 2027. Any other comments? Any other questions?
General manager. Okay,
All right.
okay. Agenda item 4G, consideration of future agenda items. Does anyone have a burning issue on an agenda item? And if you don't have it right now, the governance committee meets in the first Wednesday of the month. So please, your cards and letters are welcome. Set a date and location for the next meeting. I believe we've got it set for August 19th, 3 p.m. right here.
3:30.
3:30 p.m. Okay. We are going to go into executive session, but for the folks that are here, we are not going to have any discussion or any further action afterwards. We will just be coming out to close out the meeting. So if you would like to leave, you are not going to miss a thing. So.
Can you be specific as to what we're going into executive session for?
Yes, I'm sorry. Executive session of the board pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, or any closed session permitted by law to consult with attorneys and seek advice regarding GMA 12 proposed DFCs.
5:20?
5:20, we go in. Okay, the agenda being completed, the executive session finished, I'd like to end the meeting.
Now we have to reconvene.
Pardon?
No.
Well, reconvene.
Oh, reconvene. No action will be taken. And we are adjourned at 6:02 p.m.